Yeah, you are upset that there are no broadcasters.
I'm upset.
Why?
I'm upset at the hypocrisy.
Why is there hypocrisy?
The hypocrisy is that, we don't believe in cultural appropriation. I'm talking about this side of politics that totally rules Hollywood, and where they get on their soapboxes claiming that they are actually the bastions of morality today.
Who does this? Who says this?
Hollywood.
Do they?
Yes. It is inherently hypocritical, all right, for certain cultures to turn around and say that, no, we need inclusivity. And then when it turns we turn around, the Greeks say, well, what about our inclusivity within our stories? It's laughed off and not taken seriously at all.
Okay, let's that off. What hurts a lot of Greeks and what the sticking point is that Helen is black.
You think that?
Yes, there is a racist No, there is. Because people have told me. I'm not pulling this out. People have told me how dare they.
Good morning, Lee.
We are back. Before we even get to good morning. Of course,
The ritual.
probably no show. So I'm thinking Romaic and one of our friends who had the distinct misfortune of watching the last episode at the airport. Who cares about Romaic? And I agree.
All right.
So I'm thinking tropaic, like tropaic acid, which is a constituent of the drug scopolamine, which is used in order to stop nausea. And God knows, people watching the show, myself, those of you, for the concatenations of and the vicissitudes of nature being such, and the concatenation of circumstances, you stumble upon this for the first time, take scopolamine to avoid nausea. So tropaic, and then ruminations. I mean, the whole idea of ruminations was chewing the fat, thinking, well,
That's the idea.
it's been established that we don't think.
No.
It's been established that we have absolutely no analytical skills whatsoever. So I'm thinking abnegation, rejection. So tropaic, abnegation. We reject nausea in all its forms. And in so cancel each other out. Isn't it brilliant in this cancel culture? We can ourselves exercise the choice to cancel each other out. It's lovely.
I think that
It's breathtaking.
one of the great legacies, one of the many great legacies this show is going to have is that
You feel that this show could...
absolutely. Yes, I do.
I'd say I admire you more than I pity you, but I pity
No,
myself.
I think that will be the fact that we've given a new definition of what a thesaurus is, which after the advent of AI, people are going to forget.
I don't know what a thesaurus is, but I definitely know what AI is, because what you see here is actually an AI.
And none of this is real. This all has been generated by AI. They've written everything.
That's what they want you.
Because there's no way that any of this is anything original.
Well, it's not intelligent.
Definitely not.
So that cancels out the I. Maybe it's just A. Maybe it's just artificial. A is for artificial, mes enfants. It's also for awkward. It's also for abnegation. Triple A.
Triple A. Listen, I thought we'll start off today with something that we were discussing a little earlier on. And
My tax bill.
definitely not that. Okay. I don't think anyone will be interested in that. If you are, just leave it in Robin below and we'll look into it.
Yeah.
Read something today about Turkey and Azerbaijan trying to register baklava in UNESCO as being one of their dishes.
Lovely.
And
How did you feel? How did that make you feel, Pete? We don't have a couch, but how did that make you feel?
well, it's the ongoing. It just raises the question, right? It's the ongoing question as to who does it belong to, who invented it, and is that even an appropriate question to ask?
You're doubting your own question.
No, yeah.
I should. Okay, it's great. I mean, we have this. We've had this issue with feta in Australia. Feta cheese,
Yes.
and
Oh, yeah.
it has been registered in various global, international
Yeah.
bodies as a trademark belonging to Greece. And yet, up until recently here, until there was a recent deal signed between Greece and Australia, anyone could use the word feta. Now they can't. Yeah, there was Danish feta, there was Persian feta.
Yeah.
I remember they call it something else.
So what do they call it now?
So, the white cheese. I'd have a feta with a double T instead of one T.
Ah, yeah.
But it's all the difference.
That is
Very smart.
Aussies.
Zucchini.
They nuts.
Let's part that happens. Feta is Greek, even though the Lomi Feta is owned by a Russian company, well, also on stage. Invented, I'm not sure if it still is. Be that as it may.
Yeah.
Who owns Baklava?
Who owns it?
Can we up it? Even before we go there. Who is UNESCO to tell us what to do?
Should we describe what UNESCO is?
UNESCO.
I think, hope that trends.
You know, we go to UNESCO, this international body, to tell us that when International Greek Language Day is,
Yeah.
already spoken about.
Oh, yes.
And UNESCO this and UNESCO that.
Yes.
And UNESCO is going to tell us who owns baklava. Okay.
Apparently.
Baklava is a very ancient dish. And I would argue that no one knows baklava.
Okay. I had a feeling your argument would go down.
Okay, it's like when you're in the Facebook, you lost in the Facebook rabbit hole, and you're watching our Albanian friends telling us that we're all illegitimate because they invented the fustanella, and therefore only they have the right to wear it, and they're autochtone, you know, they are autochthonous, and they use the Greek word because they don't have they don't have their own word to describe their own imagined indigeneity. Okay, which I always find amusing, but hey. And then it's like, say, well, who invented blue jeans? Only the people that invented blue jeans can wear them. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. Who invented socks? Only they can wear socks. And everyone else must pay the royalties. Who invented the alphabet? You know? And we've been here before where I spoke about the possible Phoenician derivation of the Greek alphabet. Yes, it caused a few people get a bit angry.
Gosh, yeah.
What we do. But let's assume that we invented the alphabet as Greeks. Somewhat. Do we hit UNESCO to protect that as well? I think it is the, if you like, trait of an immature and insecure culture that they have to put a stamp on everything and say, we own this. This is ours. Now, okay, we invented the Parthenon, okay? We invented architecture. We invented theater. These are gifts to the world. Yes. Yeah. World culture enjoys the benefit of bad theater. No. Because of us and what theater. Democracy. We invented democracy. So every time there's an election around the world, does that mean that all of these countries have to pay us royalties?
Good idea. It's a great idea.
So what? We didn't invent that. Sorry, that's not true. But we've given all these gifts to the world. And we give them, or did people learn from us, take, adapt, do all this? The these have been shared with the world.
Yeah.
It's great. That is the reason why Greek culture, Tromaras, is held in such high esteem. Yeah, because these things were shared with the world, consciously, unconsciously, historically, through trade, through contact, and whatever. Let's sit there and put up barriers and ask for royalties. Only immature, stupid people do that.
What would be the significance of Turkey registering this?
Turkey and Azerbaijan, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the angelfish. As I find, are you familiar with the angelfish? There's the female angelfish, which is this big bloated creature, and then the male angelfish, which is a tiny little thing, attaches itself to the female and then becomes subsumed, into the body of the female until they become one. And that's very platonic. But that's Azerbaijan and Turkey, the same thing. Yeah. Except one, Turkey is predominantly Sunni Muslim, and Azerbaijan is predominantly Shia.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's the only difference. It's practically, for all intents and purposes, the same language, same culture. Okay. You didn't invent the baklava. Who invented the baklava is the next question.
Yes.
Not that nobody knows who invented the baklava.
No.
Now, if you ask my Syrian friends, they say they invented the baklava.
Right.
And out of all of the cultures along the way, the Assyrian is probably the oldest. And there are records of pastries with honey and walnuts, and it's probably not the same way it is now.
Yeah.
And if you go to Iraq and Iran, or baklavas is a lot different than our one, or in Lebanon, Syria, it's very dry. Doesn't have much syrup. Those of you who are in Melbourne, go to Bachas on Sydney Road in Brunswick. Beautiful baklava there, that's what they call it. Baklava, they need a flour, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Very nice, but we like it with syrup, and the Turks like it syrup castor as well, the way we have it. But they didn't invent it.
No.
As we said, there are cuneiform records of some types of pastries which could possibly, all the ingredients are similar, which are Syrian.
Mm.
We know this. We know that the ancient Greeks talk about cakes of a similar nature.
Oh, they do that.
So there's the plakus in a plakoto. No, that's all. And that's got honey and walnuts in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Dipnosophiste, the dining sophistic. It's a cookbook written by Athenaeus of Navcratis in 200 AD. There's a recipe there that he provides, which is very similar.
Really?
Two other Greeks who wrote cookbooks mention something similar.
Yep.
We know that in Byzantium, and a lot of authors have written about this and described that this dish was popular or something like it, because remember, the evolution of cakes over time and of sweets, things change.
Mm.
You know? It was there. It's mentioned in the Odyssey, mes enfants. The Odyssey, foundational text of Western civilization, and the Odyssey is a very, very one of our oldest, possibly surviving literature, where honey, walnuts, pastries are described as being a dessert. Yes. Now, yes, we know that in Turkey, Homer, not Simpson, our Homer, is considered to be Burma, and obviously Turkish. But no one believes that. Perhaps they'd like to go and register him with UNESCO as well and see how far that gets them.
Yeah.
The Turks were not in Anatolia at this time.
No.
The Turks were nowhere near Anatolia at this time.
No.
We know from history because sometimes we read history. Sometimes we even pronounce history with a h because Beni Lassia in ancient Greek history. Yeah. That the Turks in large numbers, in significant numbers, arrived on the scene in Anatolia in 1071 with the Battle of, we don't mention, never happened. Manzikert, okay? Malazgirt, as they say now. Now, so my view is that baklava is a dish that, regardless of its derivation, was common to a large Middle Eastern region, which includes Greece and Anatolia, before Turkish-speaking people arrived on the scene. Be that as it may, there are some scholars who mention that the Mongols had a similar dish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That dish is also described in Chinese literature.
Okay.
And it is quite possible that something like that, because, mise en forme, we're all people, and sometimes we have the same idea at the same time. You look at the Chinese, they've got the Greek key symbol, and we've got the Greek key symbol. And we've come about these things independently of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it does.
So it could be that two different cultures from different sides of the world came up with something similar and shared that tradition. Could be that when Turkish people arrived in Anatolia, they saw something familiar, something that reminded them of something that they had had. I don't know. It's kind of like that idea with the noodles. Did the Chinese invent spaghetti macaroni? Or did two different types of people arrive at this dish independently? And that spaghetti was actually invented by Greeks. Spaghetti is one of those that belongs to us. Perhaps we should trademark that. You raise your eyebrows.
I do.
Politely.
It's the first I've heard of this.
Okay, but we know because Athenaeus in the Hypnosophiste and other ancient authors describe, for example, lasagnon, from where lasagna comes from. Lasagnon is a bacon tray. Yeah. Right. And they would put layers of dough, like lasagna. And this was food that was eaten in Magna Graecia in southern Italy by the Greeks of the region. Then you have macaroni. Where does the word macaroni come from? Makaros, blessed, which the Byzantines would, instead of koliba, which is the boiled wheat that we make in memory of the dead, they would make long strips of dough, spaghetti, macaroni, and eat them in memory of the blessed, those that had gone. There you go. So these are things that then, because we're in the region, the people that were also in the region shared, and they shared with us.
Well,
Now, we don't go sitting there, well, I do, and it drives people nuts. No, we invented macaroni. Well, yeah, dude, but so what? Yeah. Now it's an Italian dish. Everyone enjoys it. We can all argue with Italian friends that, no, we invented that, and you owe everything to us, which is true, by the way. All my Italian friends. No. Amici, you stand on, see this guy here? Yeah? This is us. This is you. Yeah, standing on our shoulders. This is also a paradigm of me and Peter here, We bear the weight, the intellectual weight of the cosmos on our shoulders, which is why everything's gone to pot. Now, so, Pete, it's irrelevant. Right. It's silly. I mean, I know that the Cypriots had a similar issue with halloumi, right? And the Lebanese are saying, no, what are you talking about? Halloumi is not even a Greek word. Where are you getting this from? The Illuminati. Yep. Behind all this. It's dying to do that. Sure. Doesn't matter who invented it.
What's the significance of getting UNESCO to recognize it then? Like, what do they hope to gain from that?
Well, I think it's cultural cachet. We've invented something. It's important. Other cultures have invented stuff, and they're recognized for it. There's a lot of resentment, for example, in certain cultures about other people being acknowledged as the the font of all culture. Yeah, there's a lot of resentment towards the Greek people, for instance. I see that. An example, Assyrians, they talk about the Babylonian mathematics, the Pythagoras theorem, and they say, guys, we had this in Babylon eons before Pythagoras was even Iberian Zeus's mark. And yet you guys get the credit for it. Because we market things. Well, we don't. Where's the markets? All right. And I get that, and that's actually true. You didn't invent science, they say. You didn't invent maths. And that's true. But what we did do was we invented, and this is true. Mainly we didn't invent the rules, or the observations, but we were the first ones to be able to deduce principles, right, from our observations. And that's true. Regardless, do we love our culture any less because we invented things more or less? For me, it doesn't work that way. You love your culture, you love your history because it's interesting, because you belong to that continuum. You don't have to have invented the question mark in order to be grateful to feel about yourself. But cultures which are insecure, insignificant, no, looking for attention, perhaps not quite happy because they're not comfortable where they're situated, because perhaps their culture is built on the blood of slaughtered others. Yeah. Bloody oath. Sometimes I feel that way. So how about this? What if they go off and apply to UNESCO for recognition of the fact that they've created genocide?
Yeah, that's a
Be a brave one.
they should. I will support that one too.
But then I say yes, maybe the act, but not the word, because the word belongs to Samuel Lim.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But no, I mean, as I say, I don't understand how they can take him seriously. It's mentioned in the Odyssey, Pete. The Odyssey.
mate, that's actually, you know what? Mentioning the Odyssey
Mentioning the Odyssey.
is. Have you seen any footage of the latest trailer coming out of that film?
The Vikings.
You saw Vikings in that? I saw
Crusaders.
oh, you know what I saw? I saw a scene with Odysseus fighting Cybermen.
Cyborgs.
That's like
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Cybermen from Doctor Who. Like these silver robotic looking things.
Well, no. That's great. Because, for the Romaic years, that was the peak of sci-fi. Think about it, winged beasts coming to see.
It's fantastical.
That's almost like radar.
Yeah.
Sonar.
Yeah.
You have your one-eyed guy, which could be a cyborg. It could. It's amazing technology.
So what we're gonna do?
The winds.
What we're gonna do is
The sex of elders.
you and I are gonna go and watch it.
Oh.
Right? When it comes out, you and I are gonna go and watch it, and then we're gonna sit down.
I've been watching television.
And lips. It's on television. It's a film.
I can't sit still for that long.
Come on.
All right, I'll give it a go.
Yeah. And we'll go and sit down and watch it. Then I want us to do an analysis of it afterwards. Because I think it's very
But I don't think we're allowed to watch it, Pete. We're not good Greeks if we watch it. Suris felt why we're not Greeks. Number one is because the Ministry of Culture in Greece
Yeah.
gave Nolan the money
Yes.
to Nagiristin Denia, not much, but didn't give any money to for the Capodistrias film.
Really?
Yeah, which is why Capodistrias has no special effects, why there are no winged beasts. You know, there's a Panagia trying to take him up to heaven while they're singing I Parthenon Shimeron Tony Perusion Tikti. If Jesus, man, oh, really not a Capodistrias Jesus, but maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe we can get UNESCO recognition of that. But yeah, they gave all of the money to this guy.
Mm.
Spoiler alert, Helen isn't white. And you know something? Someone came to me and said, this is a disgrace.
Yeah.
And you should complain about this. Oh, I know who. And I said, why? I said, because they are distorting our history.
Oh, yes.
They like, I got riled up, Pete, because I hated when people distort history. It makes me very mad.
Right.
But then I said, Mum, it's a myth.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah.
You know, there was no Cyclops. Unless you count one-eyed Collingwood supporters as Cyclops, and I get that.
Mm.
But probably never, ever happened.
Yeah.
So, which is the history you're distorting.
Well, let's look at one criticism. That okay, I believe let's go. I believe actually.
Well, leash.
No. Okay, so
Give me one.
the historical or his interpretation of things and how he's put his artistic direction, put that to one side.
Okay.
Couldn't hire one Greek actor.
One Greek actor.
What, not one? To act in a Greek film?
Yeah. See, a couple of months ago, I was watching the 1997 miniseries,
Yeah.
Odyssey, and they've actually got one Greek actor,
Right.
actress.
Right.
Out of all of the cast, there's one Greek actress.
Okay. That's one of all that he put in.
And what a Greek actress, Irini Papa. Have you seen Irini Papa in her heyday doing Electra with Michalis Kafogiannis?
No, I haven't seen it.
Is it on YouTube? It is something that it's on YouTube. I don't know, but bits of it are.
Right.
She was brilliant. She was unsurpassed. She was electric. But even that Prosengis, the approach is different. So I don't have this problem.
You don't have this problem.
I don't have this problem.
You don't have this problem where the Odyssey,
Which was a shot on the regular problem.
in Greece, and with Greek money.
People are complaining about Helen being black and about no Greek actresses or actors in this Western Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Right? But for me, it goes deeper. Why are there no Chinese actors? Why is Jackie Chan not being cast as Odysseus, who could at least do his own stunts? Because, you know, he does his own stunts. He doesn't use a stuntman ever. That would be amazing. But you know what? Why you face the Chinese out of the whole thing? They're happy to address the issues of inclusivity in relation to African Americans.
Yes.
Because that's a prevailing discourse within America.
Yes. And Latinos now.
Yeah. We need Kinesi. There are none.
Oh, gee.
On a serious note, why do we need to have Greek actors? That's not the point. It is the point. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You are upset that there are no Greek actors.
I'm upset.
Why?
I'm upset at the hypocrisy.
Why is there hypocrisy?
The hypocrisy is that we don't believe in cultural appropriation. I'm talking about this side of politics that totally rules Hollywood, and where they get on their soapboxes proclaiming that they are actually the bastions of morality to
Who
them.
does this? Who says this?
Hollywood.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't watch Hollywood.
Okay, so with aside from maybe two out of the thousands that exist there, they are the bastions of morality that will tell us whether we are being good or not, good citizens of the world or not.
We.
Us,
The viewers.
the police, right?
Libs. Okay.
So they turn around and they've said one of the actors in the film, I'll get his name, and has turned around and there was a video of
Latinos.
Hey, on house. He turned around and said in one interview that Latino stories should be told only by Latinos and should star only Latinos.
What are Latino stories?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's what he said. He's not Nolan. He's just some actor. It's like in Greece where they ask random actors about political issues, and the guys have got no idea. But then they actually find all politicians from PASOK.
But you feel that strongly about it. Why didn't you go after Nolan and say, I can't do this. I have a position on
I'm disappointing you.
why? What I'm saying is that it is inherently hypocritical, all right, for certain cultures to turn around and say that, no, we need inclusivity. And then when we turn around, the Greeks say, well, what about our inclusivity within our stories? It's laughed off and not taken
Okay.
seriously at all.
Okay, let me stop you there. Fair enough point. That is, but who is creating the social mores and the narrative within that Western world? Because that's what you're talking about, the Western culture, which is propagated. They're not all Western culture, but that specific Hollywood, the prevalent from there, which is that American version of the world, where they are trying to atone for their past and what happened with the civil rights movement and everything else. Okay. And even here, watching, dealing with their demons. I was watching a show the other day called A Gentleman in Moscow. It's brilliant with Ewan McGregor about an aristocrat who's confined to a hotel in Moscow during the communist times.
Yeah.
And some of the leading Bolsheviks, the people who cast, the actors are either Indian or African. And one of the Bolsheviks has got dreadlocks. And when you're used to, you've got this idea of how the Bolsheviks were, and that's not it. And you think, well, and it's a bit disconcerting, especially with the dreadlocks.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone had dreadlocks during the 1917 revolution, October or before, but anyway. But then what happens is you get over it, you go off and you just watch the film and you get into it. But you consciously say, okay, they're trying to make a point here, which is like we picked, certain actors of certain background as a show that we're being inclusive. And guess what? There were no Russians in that either.
Gee.
There were no Russians.
Of course not.
In the film Couple Istrias, yeah, a lot of that film involves cast, which is the Russian Tsar, Russian generals. Okay. Not one Russian was used in that film. And not only that, none of them spoke with a Russian accent to even provide an essence of verisimilitude, because each culture speaks to its own kind according to its own discourse.
Right.
So they've got their own issues and their own cultural discourse, which is prevailing at the time. If you look at the old sword and sandal films of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, that wasn't a problem. Yeah. So you had a different aesthetic. And they didn't use many Greek actors then. The only Greek actors they used back in the day in Hollywood were probably extras because some of these films were parts were filmed in Greece.
Yes.
But no one in the leading roles. The Alexander the Great with, Richard Burton.
Yes.
There were no Greeks in them.
No.
Okay.
But that was
The 300 Spartans, the old one.
yeah.
There were no Greeks in that. No, we didn't complain. Why? Because we were flattered that these Westerners were paying homage to our culture,
Yeah.
because they, in some sense, they were legitimizing us,
Yeah.
even though we're on the scene 2,000 years later and more. We didn't have a problem then. All of a sudden, we have a problem when we're using actors who couldn't possibly look Greek ever, according to our mind, because we've been in Greece now, or never Moria. And there are a lot of people of color in Greece now, and of Asian background, Indian background, African background, and all around the world. Greece is a different country to what it was in the 50s and 60s. Absolutely. It's no longer homogenous.
No.
Okay. And who are you to tell these people they're not Greek?
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Or you can, but you need to have that debate.
No.
I don't agree. So for me, it's that, I don't know if you had this with your grandparents, but we would, when we were young, sit down and watch TV and watch the football. And watching TV in a Greek Australian household in the 80s and the 70s was evidence of idleness. So my grandmother would come to me and my cousin, "Αυτοί κάναν τη δουλειά τους. Εσείς τι θα κάνετε?" You know, so αυτοί κάναν τη δουλειά τους. That's their discourse. Yeah, they know what buttons to push to keep the critics at bay and to make money.
Yeah.
It's not our culture. It's not our discourse.
You mean Hollywood?
Yeah. It's not. We sort of straddle both worlds because we're Greek and Australian, not American, as some of our viewers said. It is actually an attempt at an Australian accent, but then you must have done it. You must have in there. Australia, many Agnes, not Australia. Yeah, no, Australia. Australia almost. Yeah, Sinun. When I live here. Okay. Up in Australia. All right, up Australia. But the point is this, so we understand both, sort of. Yeah. Because We live in both lex noera in our minds. If you're not happy with that approach, elada, elimus, tiseladas, it is diasporas. Oh, there you go. Where's your version? There you go.
No, you're going to go there.
Then I work out, make your own. Why don't you make your own? And have a look in the 100 and how many years of Greek film, and the great Brasilas Karalis from the University of Sydney has written a whole book about the history of Greek cinema. Oh, really? No, and there's one or two that deal obliquely with Byzantium. There are amazing, and you know what they say, because I've asked people this, yeah, nessa saresi, ja ti da na name yeah. Ti da lada. If we are the bastions, if we control this myth, and I'm going to come back to this point, why don't we make a film the way we want to convey the messages that we feel need to be made with the aesthetic that we feel is appropriate? So the world can say, look, we are the bastions, it's our myth, this is how it's going to be done. Why don't we create that canon? How do you create the canon? Not by whinging and to use the word bitchy in the same sense, but by creating. It's been done before. As I said, Kakoyanis. People complain, oh, we don't have the money, we don't have the special effects. Yeah. Look what the Greek Ministry of Culture did. They gave them the money and not Stonanos to Smaragdi to do Capodistria. Yeah. Garbage. We have the best script in the world, right? You don't need special effects to convey the power and the majesty and the complexity of the Odyssey. All you need is understanding and dedication. Kakoyanis Electra. Kakoyan is the Trojan women with Irini Papal, all these things. If you have a look at it, for me, it encapsulates the perennial Greek aesthetic. It's stark, it's bare. There are no frou-frou, there are no frills. It's man and nature, man fighting against the gods. It's elemental. It is unsurpassed. We can do this if we know what our aesthetic is. But my question is do we know what our aesthetic is? It's a complex question. Right. The foundational text of our civilization, that's Greeks. Pangosmia is Greeks around the world and the West, but by the West. I don't want to know about the West right now. I'm talking about us. Yeah. I know what you mean. We would return to it time and time again. In Byzantium, it was taught at schools. Grammarians picked it apart. Erudite bureaucrats would amuse each other by writing letters where they all assume the identity of characters from the Odyssey and the Iliad. Wow. And you had to know all the quotes, and they'd make inside jokes about these things. Okay. That was interrupted by the Ottoman conquest. And yes, the text was appropriated, if you like, but I don't think in a bad way. It inspired, it encapsulated, it enraptured the Western world, and it has its own trajectory. We have 400 years along the rule, which breaks the chain of continuous reception and development, native development of the document according to our own culture, right? When we come back to it, not much of that Byzantine approach is left. The Greeks from the diaspora, mes enfants, who are in the West, who come across the Western people and the way they've received that document, the way that document is incorporated into their culture. We adopt that and bring that back, and if not impose that, introduce that. Yeah. So that we've got two parallel things going on. It's important for us because possibly we know that this thing is a text which links us to the Achronikoelin is more the fact that we've been around for a very long time, and that's the link. But two, this is important because this document makes the West admire us, and we need this. And we know that we wouldn't be the modern country that we are today if it was before. The West did not have that sympathy. Yeah, well, that's true. Okay. But, so it's a very important text that means a lot of things. Appropriation of our civilization and admiration for it in any way that the West, and most of the times it feeds colonialism, it has. Greece was a colonized country. Especially during the La Timocratia, with the first fall of Byzantium in 1204. Yeah. We were one of the first colonized countries. Greece was carved up into colonies and shared out amongst the 11 states. Yeah. That's happened. We're being victims of Orientalism. They've taken that myth, they've created cyborgs. Okay. If you're not, we are content to do this, and to be tools in this game. as long as we feel we're being respected,
Yeah.
and as long as it's identifiably according to, I don't know who sets the aesthetic, the stereotype, Greek. When it isn't, we have a problem. We have a problem when Helen is black because that's what it is. Let's look at the elephant in the room. We wouldn't have had a problem because we didn't have a problem with Troy. Remember the movie Troy with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
What about, I've got to tell you something. I was watching this movie,
Yeah.
and okay, big Hollywood stars. Yeah. Didn't look anything like the stereotypes of ancient Greece to me. They looked like Vikings to me. And then you had the uh, priests in the court of Troy.
Yeah. Right.
And they looked like Greek bishops. I don't know what's going on here. What is this? Anachronism upon anachronism, but it's not history, it's interpretation.
True.
Yeah.
And that's what art is,
And
right?
you didn't see many people complain about Troy.
No.
I complained a little bit about Troy because it was a bit funny. I complained about the 300, and that was done by a person of Greek origin. The 300 Spartans, the new version,
Oh, but Zack Snyder.
with Xerxes, with the, well, it wasn't based on a comic or something.
Yes, done by Frank Miller.
Yeah, Frank Miller. Okay, with the piercings.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that would have been more insulting if I was a Persian, but they may were insulted. Or if it's not being insulted, you're right. Place ridiculous. Okay, we'd have a problem with that. Because historical veracity, which is ridiculous, the 300 Spartans, that was a historical event,
Hmm.
is good if it only works the way that we want it to work. The problem with this movie is not the cyborgs. It's not the fact that they all look like a bunch of Vikings, because the Western culture is based on that Viking aesthetic and all of that. And that's in their, they, no, they do that. And we understand that. We may laugh that off. What hurts a lot of Greeks and what the sticking point is that Helen is black.
You think that?
Yes, there is a racist no, there is. Because people have told me, I'm not pulling this out. People have told me, how dare do they cast a black actress as Helen?
The day that Kumbo decided to become a major
That's
force within the basketball scene,
But if he played Achilles, we have a problem with her.
if it was a Kumbo, I think Greeks would.
I will try and make a joke about basketball, but I know nothing about Kalgoorlie at all. So I won't. But that's the problem.
A couple of Greek actors wouldn't have hurt.
Because she's black. And we don't want to be considered to be black.
Maybe some people.
Yeah, so the Vulcan, no, you're trying to dismiss it. But that's what the Nabi is. That's the main issue. It is the main issue. No, you don't need Greek actors. It's a international piece of literature now. It belongs to everyone.
No, I think that Hollywood made
Clay Shakespeare,
the DEI.
Clay Shakespeare issue. Do all the characters have to be English?
Do they have to be English?
Yeah.
No.
Can you play Shakespeare without any English actors whatsoever? Yes, you can. Of course you can. So why can't you do that with this?
No, of course you can. I'm not saying you can't.
That's it.
But,
Are we arguing here?
make it a little
Why?
uh
Why do they
relatable.
actors? Relatable to them, not black to them.
I'm not saying to put Greek actors in every role. A few wouldn't have hurt. A few.
Why?
That but even the lead role, a few wouldn't have hurt.
Okay, put this way. If Jennifer Aniston,
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston is the epitome of being Greek because, in Facebook, when you have all those memes, for example, is Jennifer Aniston looking menacing, and then they say, oh, this is, there's nothing more scary than a Greek woman when she's silent.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
I'll say, or the other one where she's, holding up a glass, and then they say, oh, I actually saw this, your scrofa, your ex's scrofa, the girlfriend dumps him, all the shots all round, and she's the epitome of being Greek.
Right.
Come on. This is garbage. The wealth and the brilliance of the Iliad and the Odyssey, yeah, is its international reach. Penetrates, pardon the pun, but there was a one, so sorry, everywhere. Everyone knows this story. People read it, study it, are enamored by it. I remember once I went to Greece, I was studying at Athens Uni, and there was a German guy who could just recite it off by heart in ancient Greek, which we can't. Right. Barely anyone studies it in the original anymore. No, amongst us, we don't even know what it is. Have we read it all? And then the other day I was at Reading's bookstore in Carlton here in Melbourne, and the whole vitrina at the front was this new translation of the Odyssey.
Oh, yeah, this woman's strength.
Emily House's
Yes.
Odyssey. Yeah. There was a whole thing in English. Yeah. When was the last time you saw an authoritative translation of the Odyssey into modern Greek, covering all of the vitrinas of the Greek bookshops here and in Greece, and making a big deal?
Never have they.
Okay. So I picked up and I bought this translation of the Odyssey because I'm actually one of those people who like to read the Odyssey once a year in the original. And I'm also interested in the different. There was the Richard Lattimore translation, which I found interesting. So I read Emily Cousin to see how it is. You know what I found, Pete? I was reading it. What'd you find? And I thought you couldn't put one little Greek letter in the whole thing, all in English. You know, the whole alphabet. Not one Greek duff, not one Greek vita. Everything in Roman letters. Disgraceful. I rest my case here.
You cannot compare one with the other.
I just did. And there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Yep. Wow, man. That could have used one or two break actors.
I don't need to. It's irrelevant. You know what? We can make our own and use as many Greek actors as we want, and we'll do like a couple of history. And you know what? We'll throw in a Panagia receiving Osius
Don't speak to me
into heaven.
Hollywood about DEI
Question.
and being inclusive and not include a Greek within a Greek story, not one. That is just hypocrite.
So Martin, by so many different Marbles, the great scholar of these texts, has done line by line concordances
Yeah.
and says not only are there striking similarities with the Epic of Gilgamesh
Yes.
and
I've heard this.
Utnapishtim and all of that, including the Katavas to the underworld, the fact that there are the Gaiuses, you'll be the Athenian and influencing what's happening.
Yeah.
All these things.
Mm.
And even line by line, certain phrases which are repeated because you know it was an oral poem which was to be recited.
Yeah.
And then there were some stock phrases that also help with the mnemonics and the memory because it's so long.
Yeah.
They're almost exactly the same.
Well,
And which means that we didn't invent the world of the Odyssey.
Mm.
We didn't invent the culture of the region.
right.
A lot of these tropes, a lot of these motifs would have been circulating for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we have any Hittite or any Sumerian actors? That's my question. Now, let's just say tomorrow we fill the Epic of Gilgamesh, which people have been trying to do for ages.
Yeah.
Do we have to have just Assyrian actors?
Didn't say that. If you could have a couple,
Now, why? Does it
Well,
really matter?
especially if you're advocating that you're being inclusive in telling the stories of a particular race of people, it'd be good to have one or two actors in there to represent them. If representation is such an important thing for you, such a political
Okay.
uh, uh, objective for you,
Mhm.
you should be a man of your word.
Why do you think they didn't do it?
Because they don't consider us a people worth considering part of the DEI narrative. Because as you said, this is an American film by an American people, and their definition of DEI is based on color of one's skin. And as far as DEI narrative is, Greeks are just as white as Scandinavians and Germans and Anglos.
So the truth you think of it is really interesting because we know that in America and also here right in the beginning in Australia, Greeks were not considered to be white.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we definitely know this here, especially the Kalgoorlie riots in Western Australia in 1917, where shops were smashed, Greek shops were smashed, Greeks were thrown out of town because they were not considered.
Correct.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know in America it was the same. There's signs in certain places where it said rats and Greeks not welcome here.
Yeah.
And you have all of that. Is it perhaps a good thing? But we know this is going to possibly lead us into the next section because I'm appropriating your role and doing the segues. Yeah.
Fair enough. It's
But very possibly a evidence of our success as immigrant communities that we are assimilated because, especially with what's going on with other groups coming into different multicultural societies, that we are considered to be the success story because we have assimilated to the event where we're not considered any different to the dominant culture.
Of course. We become assimilated when it's now.
Do you think that's happened?
No, I don't think it's happened. I think what's happened is that now, because this guilt thing that's basically going around, white guilt thing, they need more people to feel guilty for being basically white. So now, oh, you look white enough, come along to our, you join our side and share the guilt that we created. We want to block a whole bunch of Native Americans, a bunch of Aborigines. You're white enough, you should feel shade too.
Yeah, it's interesting because the ancient Greeks didn't have a concept of color and race. They didn't. There was not this hierarchy of shade which says that the whiter you are, the more superior you are.
You're either Greek or you weren't.
No, no, they could see color, but it meant nothing. There was no value judgment attached to it.
Okay,
You know,
I didn't know.
Africans were not considered any less human beings because they were darker. There was none of that.
But they were considered barbarians or like anyone else that wasn't Greek.
No, no, no. Anyone who did not partake of Greek culture,
Yeah.
was considered to be a barbarian.
Right.
Barbarian did not mean lower or higher in civilization. For example, it just meant that they spoke a different language when they were outside the group. Persians, the Greeks had a high regard for them and their culture. They were powerful, they were civilized, but they did not speak our language. They were outside. That's what barbarian means. Barb. Yes, I don't understand what you're saying. It doesn't mean that you're any less or better than me. If you read Herodotus, there are no racial judgments whatsoever. It's just these people do this differently. He admires the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Yeah, admires the Egyptians greatly. Doesn't say that they're less. No, this is a Western thing. This comes from Rome. This idea that there are lesser races. Rome conquers Greece. They're the first appropriators of civilization. They take the Greek civilization, but they present the Greeks as effete, effeminate, weak, morally dubious, luxury-loving, sound familiar? Subversive, morally corrupt, as compared to the strong, virile, simple Romans. Yeah. Take a culture, present it in that way. That's called Orientalism. That's the first instance of it. Right. Okay. What our problem is that we have bought into that narrative. I don't feel any white guilt. First of all, for me, being white is irrelevant. I am a Greek Australian whose primary identifications with my Greek culture, my Greek history. Right. And my people's history and my knowledge of that, as far as back as it goes, constructed, lived, imagined, otherwise. The culture debates have got nothing to do with me. So when I see this film, when I will see this film, we'll have a laugh about the cybots, Cybill, the Daleks and whatever. And I'll say, okay, they're taking this and language, and in this time and place, you watch it and you say, okay, this is what they're doing here. If you watch it in 20 years, you'll laugh. The discourse will have moved on. There'll be some other issue. There'll be a problem with the trees. And we'll be arguing, why did they not use Greek species of trees in the forests in this film? Okay. And in the meantime, we'll be still crying because they don't pay enough attention to the Greeks. And we won't have made a Greek film of our own.
Ironically, I think that's the one thing that I'm going to find. I'm just predicting this. The one thing that will throw me out of the immersive experience of watching the film will have nothing to do with the actors. Will have nothing to do with the DEI. It would be the fact that they are using current day vernacular in their dialogue as opposed to your traditional old.
Yeah, but that's a steak choice.
It is.
Did they use Old English, traditional Old English, when they recited the Odyssey? No, and that's I think
No. I'm just saying
the ancient Greeks.
I'm just saying that
The ancient Greeks. This was not a play. This was a poem. You sit down and listen to a poem. The way that you listen to the great epic poems of Greece. Erotokitos in Greek with the lyra Xylouris. No, I can't listen to Erotokitos unless it's Xylouris.
Okay.
That's me. No one else. And I love it.
I'm not saying that's incorrect.
That's it.
I'm not saying it's
That's
incorrect.
an aesthetic choice.
Yes, I'm saying the aesthetic choice is what's going to throw me out of the immersion and what will actually, totally throw me off the suspension of disbelief.
I still return to what I said before. No Jackie Chan as Odysseus. I'd completely invalid.
Okay.
Imagine Tam Tako of blessed memory, who died.
Yeah.
as Achilles. That would be amazing. Going up, or no, no, Hamlet. You know who I put him as?
I think the world is a more a place for not having you as a director.
I will cast Daco as Paris, who goes to Sparta, meets Helen, says, "Sit, mademoiselle. Do you like the gift of Trojan?" That would be the best. Ik
Oh man.
Manister. But that's what I'm saying. We'll do it home.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's we'll pop up for now. We'll see I am dying to see your opinion of this modern take of the of our ancient story. And speaking of modern takes of something ancient, Parthenon. Apparently they've restored some part of it.
Yeah.
So tell me what's happened here. Like they take like this broken piece and they fill it with like cement, and now it looks
That's not cement.
what is it?
Basically, what they did was, and they've been working on this for a very, very long time. That's why a lot of Greek students go to Greece during the summer months, and they come back and play. We're trying to take photos at the Parthenon that was covered in scaffolding. It's like they would have thought they could have taken that off so we can take a photo. Yeah, which is why AI is great. You can superimpose yourself onto a photo.
And there's the scaffolding.
Yeah, and people don't know about that. My favorite photo of the Parthenon is a photo of Ayatollah Khamenei, who was killed recently in the bombing in the Iran war, praying at the Parthenon.
I did not know about that.
Yeah, for me, that's great, and I'll get into why that's great.
Okay.
And so then but yeah, so what they do is they're trying to, with the rubble which is on the ground.
Yeah.
They're trying to, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. So whatever they've got that they can put back into the building to make it look more like the original, they're trying to do. And they're using marble where they can't do it. They need to fill.
Yeah.
They're using marble from the same quarry where in the Alpendeli, which is where my grandmother used to live, by the way, and spent a lot of time there. So they're patching it up using the same marble, which now looks a bit weird because it's a different color than it was at the building, but it will age over time and most likely merge, so you can't tell. So what you're seeing now is people are complaining, saying, "Well, that's not Parthenon, that's an anaspirosis." And the question is, well, how far does this go? And it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
For me, how far does this go? Because we know that what we see now is not the Parthenon of 1821. It's not the Parthenon of the 1600s and before or after the bombardment. This is a landmark, a historical edifice that's had an amazing history and a varied history. And when I look at it, I like those bad bricks, Pete. I acknowledge it for what it is, and it's very important.
Yeah.
Doesn't always stir the heartstrings.
No.
Not always.
Okay.
Does I look at it in different ways. I like the erection though. That's just me. And the Cariapides and for many reasons. But this is a building that's been through a lot. It's a symbol of modern Greece. It's a Palgosmio is recognized internationally as a symbol of Greek civilization, the pinnacle of architecture. And we can go into the great way it was designed with the endasis and make it look straight and the optical illusions and the mathematical precision. Remarkable building.
Should they rebuild it completely?
That's the question.
And should they then paint it the same way it was painted back in the day?
That's the second question. Allow me to respond. I don't bloody know. But
Because modern showing that is not answer questions.
we don't answer questions. Answer questions for the FE. But you have your Parthenon, the original building,
Yeah.
which houses the Xoanon, the olive wood fetish object, which was the goddess, representing the goddess Athena.
Yeah.
And then that gets burned down by the Persians because the Persians were barbarians. They didn't speak our language. They didn't understand why that was called. Well, maybe they did, and I'm making a point. So in the Persian wars, the original Parthenon gets burned down, and there are in the museum in Athens parts of the original building that they found. So you can see version 1, or parts of version 1. Yeah, which is more archaic, not the brilliance of Phidias that was to be. Then you have the Periclean Parthenon, which is a product of theft and embezzlement, as all good buildings are. Now, here in Victoria, we've got massive, this big, where money was taken and possibly too much money was paid certain builders in order to build these freeways and roads that lead nowhere. But what Pericles did was, after the Persian War, he created the Delian League, the League of Delos.
Yeah.
The whole idea was that all these states that wanted to sign up to this voluntary, in the commas, voluntary group of states, they would all pool money in the treasury at Delos, which was the sacred island, Sitilo, and that money would be used for the common defense so that the Persians would never attack again. Or if they did, they'd be ready for them. And then because Athens was the strongest state, they took that money from Delos and deposited it in Athens. And then Pericles said, well, you know what? In order for us to defend you, because we are the strongest, we have to build very important public buildings in Athens. Of course. And they used that money to build the Parthenon and the other public buildings. It was a product of theft and embezzlement. Okay, as all great projects are.
Was the island of Samos one of the islands that contributed?
Yeah, I mean, not everyone did. And then they did nasty things to Samos.
So this is nasty. So now I see where the biasness comes in there.
No, there's no bias. This is what happened. There's no bias. And these tremendous buildings, which are unsurpassed, were created and lasted for a very long time. And our relationship with them has been an interesting one as a people because, there it is.
Yeah.
People coming from near and far to see these wonders of the world. And then you have someone like in Hellenistic time, Dimitrios Poliorkipis, who sets up his mistresses at the back of the building. So you have the ancient historian saying, he converted the Parthenon into a brothel. He didn't. He put his mistresses at the back. They did not violate the sanctuary, pardon the pun. I know there wasn't one, so I apologize. But, there it is. It's an important building. And this is the bit we don't talk about much. It became the third most important Christian church in Byzantium.
Yeah. Oh, really?
As Ipanagia Thiniotiso, and no less a personage than Basil the Bulgar Slayer. So named because he slaughtered a lot of Bulgarians. No. After his slaughter of the Bulgarians, went there and prayed at that church to give thanks.
Yeah.
And it is a singular fact that the Parthenon was a Orthodox church or Christian church for the majority of its existence, almost 1,000 years.
There you go.
A lot longer than it was a pagan temple.
Yes.
Okay. And in certain areas inside the monument, there were icons painted. Certain parts were blocked off, other parts were changed in order to make it into a Christian temple. But there were icons in there on the walls, and there are photos of those which we can see, which were taken in 1920s, no less. They are no longer visible. We'll get to that. Then, what happens is, this third greatest church of Byzantium, Athens is taken over by the Latins. There's the Duchy of Athens. Then there is the Ottoman conquest. Yeah. And then Morosini, the Venetian, is cruising around the region and fires some shots into the Parthenon. And the Parthenon gets blown up. And we have a collapsed and ruined Parthenon, which is still standing. But all these parts are missing because they've been blown up because the Turks were storing ammunition in there. But the other thing that the Turks were doing was they built a mosque.
Yes.
In the a mosque with a minaret in the Parthenon, which makes sense because all of these Abrahamic religions would either appropriate the religious buildings of the previous religion that they had, defeated, or build on top of that, show the victory of the triumph of their religion over the other one.
Yeah.
And the Turks did the same thing. So Evliya Çelebi visits the mosque, great Islamic traveler of the age, and writes about what was in there and how it was used and all that. So this is a complex monument which has accretions and changes over time because nothing stays the same.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about 2,000 years of history. Yeah. And then Athens is liberated, and then there's that story about how they were fighting. The Greeks were up in the Acropolis and the Turks were there and they were fighting. And then the Greeks said, look, the Turks were taking the lead. Yes, was used to, unite the things and says to use as bullets. And the Greeks said, we'll give you bullets, don't ruin the building. It's probably not a true story, but it's a nice story. What's that story saying? It's saying that the Ottomans had no respect for the monument.
Yeah.
And we did. That's not true. They may have not respected the significance of its past, but if it wasn't for Morozini, that thing would still be standing.
Yeah.
And one thing they didn't do, even though Islamic law is against sculpture and the portrayal of images, they didn't go and deface the monument.
No.
And that says something. That a monument can be so beautiful and so profound and strike such feelings of reverence and awe in you that it just makes you accept it for what it is. You just build around it.
So you saying there's going to be an issue with if they were to ever restore it, what version do you restore?
Why are you summarizing what I'm saying when I'm being long-winded?
Trying to get there, dude. I'm trying to get there.
The first ever surviving photograph of the Parthenon shows the Franco Castello, which was a Frankish tower.
Yeah.
And then you see the mosque, and then, oh, let's go. Oh. So yes, which version of the Parthenon do we restore it to? Do we restore it to the Periclean version?
Mm-hmm.
Do we restore it to something like the Periclean version? Do we restore it into a Christian church? Do we restore it into a mosque? Do we do something which allows you to have an idea of the whole thing? And ultimately, that's a subjective choice, and it has to do with tourism. What would the punters like to see? Now, I know if you're a Greek Australian with certain ideas about the superiority of ancient Greek culture, you go there and you see part of a mosque and part of a church, you won't like it. No. And possibly if you are a Western tourist and you trottle up the stairs and have a look before you get on the ferry to go to Mykonos and Ios, you won't like it. No. If you're the Ayatollah Khamenei who says this was a mosque, and you're going to love it.
Yes.
And that has political implications all of its own, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden it's, well, okay, this is a holy site, and who has dibs on it?
That's easy answer for me.
Go on.
Very clean.
Why?
Because.
It's not because you got to be constructed. It's because you've been told, and with good reason, that is the pinnacle of architecture. It's brilliant.
I'm not interested in going to see another, seeing an ancient structure that was converted to a church. There are other churches I can go and see with that. I want to see something from an ancient era. Something
You want to,
I want to go far back as I basically can.
but it's not there.
I want to I don't like this.
Wait, I want to reconstruct it. Why don't you go to Nashville where it's there? Because in Nashville, they've reconstructed it. They've also reconstructed two in China. Why don't you go there?
Why would I go there?
Because why would you go and see something that's not real?
I don't want the replica. I want the original.
But you are seeing you're seeing the original plus the replica.
Interesting. It's better than going.
So, Kelly, how do we get why is you happy with that? Because it brings you to the Ferrocleum.
Yes.
I have this issue when I went to Knosor. Have you ever been to
Cindy?
Have you been to Knosor, the palace?
Yes. Right.
Yeah, everything you see is a reconstruction. Everything.
Really?
Just some foundations and some rocks on the ground are the original structure. Everything else.
What about that? The big painting thing? The
Reconstruction.
whole thing?
Yeah, they
They repainted
from small fragments, tiny fragments.
Right.
It's impressive, which I was impressive of it, and I thought that's great. When the archaeologists told me this is a complete reconstruction, I said, "Oh, so this is just a Minoan theme park." By the way, as an aside, I love that scene in the Kapolodistas movie. All right, stop me if you've seen it before. Spoiler alert. Where he's sitting there and they say, doing Greeks and you Greeks are nobody. It says there were 4 great Greek civilizations, says Kapolodistas. Minoan? Dude, the Minoans had been forgotten. No one knew who they were till they were discovered in the late 19th century.
It's artistic license, Steve. Didn't we say artistic license?
He was a prophet, Kapolodistas. Not only was he receiving the Helen by Pioneer, according to Smaragdis, he also rediscovered civilizations that no one knew about. Look, ultimately, it's a subjective choice. It's like when they paved over sections of the Parthenon to make it more accessible. Yeah, people say, what are you doing to the Holy Rock? How far do you restore it? I mean, in Turkey, there are temples that they say are 800, 900 years old. Well, the structure of the temple is that, but every so often they replace parts of it.
Yeah.
Because parts rot, parts burn down, they rebuild.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame burnt down.
Yes.
They've restored it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the conscious decision is to make a different type of restoration. Other times they make it in the way it is before. That's part of the history of the building. So maybe the answer is this: it's subjective, and these changes then become part of the history of the building as well. So maybe the idea is learn the history of the building,
Yeah.
understand the history of the building,
Yeah.
and then just deal with it.
Well, and just leave it the way it is.
No, I'm saying that you accept the fact that restorations will be made, people will tinker with the building.
Yes,
It's part of the history.
of course.
So these new additions, which are very tasteful, very carefully,
Yes.
um, there's a big thought process behind them. They're not very intrusive.
No.
They're part of the history of the building.
Yeah.
Now, they make the building look a bit different to the photos that, for example, my grandparents took of the Parthenon before they came to Australia.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of the developing history, or a monument that continues to play an important role, imaginary or otherwise, in people's lives. That's great. As long as you understand the history and you bring those marbles back into the museum where we can look up from and get paid money for.
Yeah. And not allow any academics who say otherwise to visit the museum.
Yeah, you're referring to Trabufo. Yeah, well, no, yeah. If I, this is a funny thing because I actually took his side.
Yeah, okay, we'll explain this.
Yeah, Trambuco is this academic who was barred from the museum in Athens.
Is he Italian?
Yeah, of Italian origin, because he supports the argument that the British case for holding the Parthenon marbles is legal and correct.
Yeah.
And Athens, Greece, not justified in asking for marbles back.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, his view, in my opinion.
Yes.
And even in the wake of that, the Turkish government has said there is no money that we have which authorized the removal of these things from the actual building. What they said was if there's anything on the ground, you can pick it up and take it with you. They did not authorize him to take off the building.
Yeah.
But then again, negligence, life, no one did anything at all. But they allowed them to do it.
Yeah.
You could say if you were going to take the Ottoman government to court, they were contributorily negligent in allowing that to happen and exercising oversight. Be that as it may, irrelevant. It's a silly argument, but I think it's been refuted.
Yeah.
But where are we in the world with this cancel culture when you can't sit down and contradict each other and debate and allow people to challenge your views by providing an opposing view? I mean, you do it all the time. You don't agree with anything I say. I don't agree with anything
I think I do get both of you say.
That's ridiculous. We're going to have a fight about us. I try to be contrarian. You should, because it is through the questioning and through the dialogue that the brilliance emerges. So why not allow him to speak? Why cancel him? That was my point. No, I agree with him. I don't. I don't agree with him at all. But cancelling comes from, in my opinion, a position of insecurity. Well, it's just
I can't agree.
I'm not comfortable unless you agree with me.
Yeah.
You know, when the Roman Catholics, they present people for sainthood.
Yes.
No, it's like, Peter, Peter is a great Roman Catholic. Well, he's not, but if he was, I mean, he's got the Luz and the charisma and charisma and everything else. No. So we're going to put him up as a candidate for saint. Right. They always had what's known as the devil's advocate. You know, the person who will argue the case against, so that you're sure that you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Unless you do that, I'm a lawyer by trade, Romana. Yeah. One of the things that we do when we're formulating arguments for court is immediately, what are the counter arguments?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to refute those. Absolutely. If you are not going to even consider them, if you're not going to enter into dialogue with your opponents, and you're lost. Yeah. And that's my point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can refute the argument. If you don't, something wrong with you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And just to clarify, he's not allowed.
There was some function that they were doing where they were going to speak and whatever, and they said, no, we don't want you.
We don't want you back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's not like you can't go to Greece.
They didn't Greece.
It's not like he's been, you know.
Willem Dafoe went to Greece and danced the zeibekiko coming to Yorgos Margaritis.
That is a very interesting development. I saw the clip for that.
But the ship of that is Willem Dafoe's zeibekiko as iconic as Anthony Quinn's.
Yes, there should be a comparison.
So that is what we'll look at next time. Yeah, I forget, but yeah, next year when we do another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we've come to the end.
We hope.
Yes. How are you feeling?
I feel invigorated.
Invigorated. That's actually the first time I've actually heard you say a positive comment. Usually you're very depressed and dejected.
No, I'm feeling, what's it called, anime. Yes, I want to go and start throwing gunpowder and rocks at people, whole souvenir Parthenons. I mean, I love it.
That's great.
But more than anything, I want to go, because I don't do this because I'm not a really majorly person, as I thought, I want to go and indulge in cosplay. I'm going to dress up as a samurai lesbian Viking, and I'm going to request that I become an extra in Odyssey 2, the sequel. Now, there is a sequel to the Odyssey. Did you know this? And unlike all the other sequels to things, was actually written by Greek. Nikos Kazantzakis,
Right.
our famous writer, Cretan writer, wrote the Odyssey, the modern sequel, where Odysseus can't get any peace. And in the words of the great Mick Jagger, can get no satisfaction.
Yeah.
And he leaves and he's pursued by his own desire to find himself and set things right. And he tries to spread a religion. He goes from country to country, ends up in Antarctica, no less. So he comes down this way, down under where we are. Yeah.
Really?
Trying to find himself and reconcile his existence of the world. Is it a good book? And it's big. And unlike all these other sequels, it's actually written with the same number of sections as a poem, like the others. And why are you skeptical? Is it because there were no Greek actors used? Well, I'm going to be a samurai. He actually goes to Asia. I'm going to be a samurai lesbian Viking, and I'm going to have a cameo role as an aristocratic atheist penguin of Antarctica in this film, which we're going to make by next time using AI.
Like I said beforehand, I think the world is a poor place for you not having pursued a career in directing and producing film.
I think of those must be life for a reason, T.
Okay. With that, see you, Dave.
Arrivederci.